once you realize and admit the future, now you're ready to pivot.
Right.
So one of the things I do on ATI Auto Business is I say, all right, we're not there yet, but know that that's coming. And yes, I don't know how the car drives itself up on your trailer, but I'm telling you, they're going to figure it out.
Yes, they're going to figure.
They're going to figure it out. And when that gets figured out, you're going to have to be ready to pivot.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
You've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
I love technology. I lean in deep. Today, we have a lot of new things coming up. We've got virtual reality. I don't think that's going to play too much in the long haul trucking or the last mile distribution. But things like computer learning and AI, I think might. What do you think the future of AI in transport is going to be?
So this is where I think I'm the lucky one. I read trucking publications. I have a list of news resources I follow every day. And most trucking publications are still talking about like best truck and chrome and polish and all this stuff. And that's neat. But love your equipment. But there's going to come a day. There's already a day. Do you know what drayage is? Here's a word for you. Word of the day, drayage. Okay. Drayage, D-R-A-Y-A-G-E, is a freight term. So I also pay attention to freight trucking. It's a freight term, and it is just those short little moves at the port, moving containers around and stuff. And they call it drayage. All right. Drayage is a lot of robots now. Used to be guys and gals driving trucks.
Right.
And a lot of, consternation. Hey, buddy, get out of the way and all that. Now it's all robots. Not every port has robots doing drayage, but every port will.
Yes.
Drayage is the first step into automated trucking. Also, what's happening and has been happening is in the southern states, especially LA to Dallas, Houston, is a pretty straight shot. If you're going to sleep on the road, that might be the route. Well, they have automated that with Too Simple and a couple other trucking companies have already gone to driverless trucks on this route. Now they were testing them and they've gone to the next stage. Autonomous is actually 5 stages. The first stage is like simple driver assist. And the 5th stage is ain't nobody anywhere near the thing. And they go through stages. They've gone up a stage on driverless trucking. They're going to get to ain't nobody in the truck.
Yes.
I don't know when. And I'm willing to talk about it because this is, again, part of the bad news. News is good and bad. And if you watch the local news, it's mostly bad. But that's why they got to put in the cooking segments. But the thing is that you gotta, once you realize and admit the future, now you're ready to pivot.
Right.
So one of the things I do on ATI Auto Business is I say, all right, we're not there yet, but know that that's coming. And yes, I don't know how the car drives itself up on your trailer, but I'm telling you, they're going to figure it out.
Yes, they're going to figure.
They're going to figure it out. And when that gets figured out, you're going to have to be ready to pivot. So
it doesn't even need to drive itself on the truck. It can drive itself to the new driveway.
That's another problem. Exactly. So that's what's happened in the past few years. See, 5 years ago, a new car manufacturer said, I don't want any miles on this car until it gets to the customer. That's changed too.
Yeah, they don't care.
The customer's like, yeah, I don't care. I'll take it in pink and yellow if that's all you got. So that's changed. Yeah. And so you got to be aware of these changes. And so again, I think that ATI is a breath of fresh air for a lot of folks that, it's easy. It's easy to get used to kind of giving the same argument. But once you realize that's a bad business decision, you're ready for ATI out of business.
So you believe we're going to be completely autonomous vehicles. I drove home I was in New Orleans in October.
It'll be a while, but yes.
And I'll tell you, from New Orleans to St. Louis, early October, I was in a 2002 Camry, right? I rented it for the drive because my truck gets a whopping 12 miles per gallon.
Right.
So I rented this car, and I'll tell you what, I don't think I drove it at all.
Right. Oh my God. What year is it?
It's a 22 Camry.
Okay.
And
I know.
the only thing it did is once I had cruise control,
wow.
It complained every now and then I needed to put my hand on the wheel.
Wow. Can you believe that?
It made the drive very enjoyable. I didn't have to think a whole lot.
So, but just for a moment, it's 2022. Can you believe that we're already there? Like, that's the thing.
Well, Jetson's told me I'd be flying by now.
I know,
I'm a little pissed about that.
But the speed of change, I think, surprises us as humans. Like, and I say it that way because, right now somebody's like, yeah, that guy's definitely not human.
Yes.
The thing is that things change so darn fast. And we look at the phones we have. I mean, these are computers. It's not a phone anymore. It hasn't been a phone for a while.
Right.
Your car is going to drive itself. And here's the kicker. You see the way people road rage, they will not stop. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but nobody's going to stop road raging. It's going to be the government and the automated vehicles. And I'm so sorry to tell people this. But
so do you think
we as human beings we won't be reasonable on the road? We refuse.
So I think we could be there tomorrow if we just remove the human. If everybody had a self-driving car tomorrow, then I think it would work.
There you go. And that's the thing is right now. And now I've been written off as a weird lefty, and I'm not. But I'm just a realist. And that's the thing too. And maybe I've had enough punches, but I'm a realist and a pessimist. And an idealist, which is a terrible combo. But things are what they are.
Right. So you're saying, I think what I'm hearing is you believe that 100% of cars are driving themselves. And I'm still pissed, even though the car made the decision. I'm pissed at the guy in front of me for cutting me off.
Now, Jay Leno's still going to drive his own car.
Oh,
because he's got 200. The thing is, and I just want to be clear.
I don't think we're going to be allowed to drive on the highways. And I think last mile neighborhoods is the only place that a human's going to be allowed to drive.
It's interesting. There are going to be a lot of zones of where you can and can't drive. That is going to happen.
Yes.
It's interesting when you go to a city you haven't been to in a while. By the way, I never talk I don't sit around and spew the future, but we are right now because we're just two guys talking, allegedly. But the thing is that I think there will be weird zones in the future. I was in LA and I noticed on some streets there were these bike lanes.
Right.
I didn't know. I didn't even know what I was looking at. And these guys were honking at me. And I realized, this is how fast things change. There will be zones where you're not allowed to drive your car. And you have
hands off the wheel.
If you're not autonomous, you can't be there. Yeah, that's going to happen.
I think we'll just have autonomous lanes. And I think that works, right? When you need to be conscious. And when you don't. And we're living in a world where not being conscious is something that we seek.
And we'll get used to this autonomous vehicle stuff.
Of course.
We will.
We got used to adults working at McDonald's.
Exactly.
We get used to.
Exactly. Hey, you know what? Good example. Those kiosks at McDonald's.
Yes.
I was told I was in line and they said, "Can you go use the kiosk?" I swear it took me 5 times longer to use the kiosk.
So once you're trained, it'll be quicker.
Exactly. And that's how everything is.
Yes.
I mean, who's got an app on their phone for one of their favorite places to eat or a grocery store they shop at, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you've got Waze and you've got the McDonald's app, as you're driving by a McDonald's, Waze will say, hey, You've got the McDonald's app. You want to order your chicken nuggets and they'll be ready for you when you hit the drive-thru.
So if you're 10 and you see this future coming, maybe by the time you're 20, there's an awesome new content that you can create that didn't exist before.
Absolutely.
I
Now,
guess.
I also think that AI is creating content now, which
Oh my gosh. Totally. There are
My
AI
concept-
written articles, and we don't
Yes.
even know which ones are written by. Now, I don't think the ones on New York Post are written by AI.
they
but-
are. They have my headlines are written by AI. Like
Oh my
we use a program called Jasper, and we put a whole bunch of information in, and we say, "Hey, give me the best headline," and it spits it out.
Wow.
It spits out like 4 or 5, and we choose.
So I'll go here. What's everybody going to do in the future? Man, I have no idea. I'm
I
not
lean
saying
on
I
the-
know. What are we going to do?
Financially, I lean conservative. Socially, I lean way open. Do whatever you want to do.
Right.
But I believe we're going to have a living wage. You're going to have a certain amount of funds that live and I think it's going to be a somewhat joyous life, right? I mean, a giant TV, movie screen TV in your house is affordable today. We've got, marijuana's become illegal, so you can just be happy and watch your Netflix for a relatively affordable price.
Okay, but it's interesting you say that because there are always going to be those of us that want to break the mold. Will it be harder and harder to break? Because one of the things that I believe is I believe like the federal income tax structure is not in favor of the entrepreneur.
It's challenging.
That's a belief I have. That's challenging. That's a better way to put it. An AB5. Do you talk about AB5? Because I'm in trucking, it comes up.
I'm not familiar with AB5.
All right. AB5 is an independent contractor law in
Okay.
California. It is destroying the ability to be an independent contractor. Now, the purpose of AB5 was, hey, there's too many big businesses taking advantage of independent contractor employees.
So we'll make sure that we put a link to the AB5 laws in California.
Cool.
I believe that long-term cottage industry is going to be, I think the government's going to have to loosen up on cottage industry entrepreneurs. I think it's going to be huge for our future. The kid that's making soaps in his basement or the girl that's making art in her garage, right? I think the laws are going to loosen up and there's going to be a ton of people working on their own making $50,000 to $150,000 a year with their small 1,000 to 5,000 people audiences. And I think that's a beautiful place to be for our country. There's still going to be big companies and stuff like that, which I'm not a huge fan of, but
I hope you're right. You're much more of an optimist than I am. And
you're never going to get rid of the
really
rebels, right? There's always going to
Yeah.
be, I can't work for somebody else. It's not in my DNA.
But
We're going to butt heads. We're going to conflict and it's not going to be good because I've got authority issues.
I tell you, I do too. But I tell you what, here's the bad news. God, that's what we should call the channel. Here's the bad news. A lot of the rebels become authoritarian bosses. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's really bad news.
Right.
I mean, and I'm just going to say it now. Everybody loves Steve Jobs, but he was not a cool boss.
No.
And Jeff Bezos, I mean, genius entrepreneur, but how's he doing as the autocrat of Amazon?
Yeah, and I'm
He
not a fan
underpays
of those kinds
everybody.
of companies.
Okay, now I have to apologize to Jeff Bezos. Actually, I think Jeff Bezos is brilliant. And I think everybody forgets how hard it was for him early on.
Right, but he's done his part to change the world.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing his part today to make the world better.
Oh, well, okay. So there we go. That's fair.
Right.
He might even, he might even be like, guys, I'm tired. I don't care.
He might be, but
Laura wants to go shopping and I'm going to have some
time
sushi.
off task stuff for, factory workers, which, they're great people. These are good humans that are working factory jobs and they have this time off task mentality. Like, oh, you've not done this. You're not doing this fast enough. Right. And the automation, at the end of the day, computers are their bosses. right? The Kanban board is your boss. And
Yes.
I mean, he's just going to go for efficiency. He's not going to go for quality labor, quality product, all those things, right? It's all about efficiency.
So what if that is the baseline of most jobs in society in the future?
Then it's a race to the middle and we're all screwed.
Well, that's my concern, is that is the future, which is another reason why I don't want anybody surprised when all the cars drive themselves on the truck. Don't be surprised.
Right.
Get ready. I think of the shipbuilding companies. I don't know the year. I'm not a historian, but there was a time there was a lot of shipbuilding companies.
Right. And buggy building companies, right?
There we go. The buggy whips and all that. Exactly. There's got to be a guy. There's got to be a guy. I'm going to go with a guy because that way it's funnier. There's got to have been a guy when they said, yeah, that's it. We're shutting down Buggy Whip Central. And this guy was like, but I'm making, I've got a few more whips to make.
Right.
Yeah, no, we don't need them. What do you mean you don't need them?
But today we live in a world where you can still make custom buggies and custom buggy whips and make a living. Like if you're really passionate about making buggy whips, if you were really passionate about it today, you could make a career out of that. And I think that's what's special about the internet and about our future.
I can feel the positivity coming off the screen. That was powerful, Ken. Seriously.
If you want it, go do it. You can get it. If you want it today, you have to go get it, and it's not going to be easy.
You will have to put in 100,000 hours.
You have to do that. Yes. Yeah, but you're going to anyway.
Well, that's see, you just did it. You're going to anyways.
You're passionate about it.
Whether you do 9 to 5 for 40 years, or you put in 100,000 hours making that buggy whip, it's a long, hard journey either way.
Yes, absolutely.
And you may as well love it.
At a time where giant TVs are affordable and inflation's really bad right now. So I don't know what's going to happen. Does that change we'll have to see where these next couple of years lands in my head. Right. But I think that this is just a flux in the system right now. And
a flux in the capacitor. Yeah. Well, I want to say this. Here's the thing. I don't know. Historians must have really interesting lives. And I was thinking of how long was the Dark Ages? 1,000 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
And the Renaissance was 50?
I have no idea.
My point is everything is getting even shorter and shorter and shorter. So we're going to come out of whatever this is. And then we're going to have another period of whatever. And we're in constant craziness now, which is the best time.
The digital art renaissance took a year. Right? NFTs popped for maybe 8 months.
That's funny. I haven't heard NFT in a headline. And when's the last time? Right. NFT. Yeah. Grandpa. NFTs. Right.
And that's, less than 8-year-old technology, but mainstream in the last 2 years, maybe.
But I tell my kids, focus on a niche. Just find a niche. Let's talk about it. Okay, so, all right, you love video games. All right, you could probably program a little bit, and you love media, and you love TikTok and your phone. All right, well, let's find some computer clubs and so whatever it is. But don't just not do anything.
Yes.
We got a lot of people. We got a lot of people doing nothing. I mean, for a long time, everybody can name somebody that does nothing.
If that's what you want to do, though, then do that.
That's
fine. And we've got to get wrapping up. I've got one story on that. Yeah. I come from a rough and tumble background, so I still hang out with some of my old friends, and they're very unique people. So I was at a friend's house, and it's kind of a biker, rough and tumble, big biker guys. And we're in the garage and we're drinking beers and we're talking. And this one guy, when he was talking about cooking, you could just hear the passion coming from him when he's talking about grilling and all this stuff. And he hates his day job. And I'm like, dude, why don't you just do that instead? Why don't you just take your energy? Because you obviously love cooking and preparing this stuff and doing all this thing. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, but if I did it all day, I don't want to turn the thing that I love into the thing that I hate. And that hit me pretty hard. He's like, so I'd rather do my 9 to 5, go through the motions, because I can kind of turn my brain off there. When I get home, I get to do it for me and my family, and I love that.
Wow.
And it was a perspective that I'd never even considered before.
It's a great perspective. It is a great perspective. I get burnt out creating content. And so I find ways to manage the burnout
Right.
because I'm not going to stop. But that's interesting. That's a really, and as you get older and you get more responsibilities, the ability to just decide and choose and do, that goes away.
Yeah. So I think if that's your world and that's what you like and that's what makes you happy, then do that. But if you want to make a business doing buggy whips, make a business doing buggy whips. You'll find an audience.
Wow.
Right? There's still Amish out there.
Right. Oh, yeah. They're big on TikTok.
Right? Are they?
I made that up.
Fantastic. Jay, thank you so much for your time today. I had a blast.
Oh, yeah, that was really fun. Thank you,
If somebody wanted to learn more about you and what you do, where would they find? What's the best place to send somebody to learn about you and your companies?
Best thing to do is go to YouTube and type in ATI Auto Business. You can type in ATI Auto Transport. We're also known as Auto Transport Intel. If you type in like get rich car hauling, you won't find us. If you type in like
Capitalize on those keywords.
Auto Transport Business News, that's ATI Auto Business.
Awesome. Jay, thank you so much for your time today. I had a
Thanks
blast.
very much.
I hope we get to talk again soon.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Thanks for watching today's episode of Clicks and Bricks. Get to work.